And okay, so how do I put this? Because
you explain to us.
what me
I feel like
for
this.
me, what my thoughts are.
Mm.
Okay, so one of the verses that I think people have used to justify self-love for Christians is Mark chapter. I said Mark 16:34 before. That doesn't even exist in the Bible. Forgive me. Is Mark chapter 12 verse 30 and 31. Yeah, and it says Mark 12, 30 and 31. And it's where verse 29, if we start from verse 29, actually from verse 28, it says one of the teachers of religious law was standing there and listening to the debate. Yeah, he realized that Jesus had answered well, so he asked, of all the commandments, which one is the most important? And he said, the most important commandment is this. Listen, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God and one only. Is the only one and true God. Guys, I think I might need specs. Why am I not reading?
The Lord our God, the Lord is one.
So usually when people are trying to defend self-love from like a Christian perspective, they go to Mark chapter 12 verse 31, yeah? But I'm going to read from verse 29 where Jesus is being questioned by the religious leader, which one is the greatest commandment, yeah? And Jesus responds, the most important commandment, I'm reading from NLT, the most important commandment is this, listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only Lord. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength.
Yes.
And and then the second is equally important. It is to love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. Yeah.
So it's called self neighbor.
Now here's what I'm realizing. If you read the 10 commandments, for example, it is how do you behave before God, and how do you honor and treat God, and then how do you honor and treat others. There is really no place for yourself. It is honor the Lord your God, then you shall not take the Lord your God's name in vain, keep the Sabbath, then honor your parents, do not lie, do not steal, do not cheat. Now all of these have nothing to do with me, right? I'm not doing any action towards me. This is an outward action. You know what I'm saying?
The only sin against your own body is what?
Is sexual.
Is outside.
That's what I mean. So when I think about Mark 6, why do I keep saying 16?
Mark 12, 31, yes.
What I believe Jesus is trying to say is, because naturally, whether you're a Christian, whether you're non-Christian, people love themselves. Even in the like self-hating feeling that you can get sometimes, people genuinely love themselves. You still choose
yourself.
Exactly. Because you're thinking, life is this bad for me, even though let's say you have a family and they might also be going through the same thing. For you, what is important to you is what is going on with what? With me. What is wrong with me and all of those things. And Jesus always tells us to think about others and how it affects others. And if we are to try and do things pertaining to like ourselves, it's more so get to God. Not even take time off to like be at peace, you know, step away from people if they're fighting your peace, you know. It's more of, if something is fighting your peace, run to God.
True.
Right? I believe it's the closer you get to God, the more
self-love.
you fix yourself.
True.
Because one of the warnings Paul gives about the last days is that people will become lovers of themselves. Yeah. And I think that is pretty much what is happening today. Yeah. People say, if it doesn't protect your peace, if this doesn't serve you, cut it out.
Yeah.
And yet Jesus says, greater love has no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friend. If we look at the context of, for example, let's say marriage or a family, the husband is supposed to be willing to lay down his life for the wife. The wife is supposed to submit herself to the husband. The children are supposed to be under their parents, right?
Actually, I think that reminds me of a debate we had. These guys know very well I have a bias about best friend issues, but there is something someone was sharing, and because we are lovers of self in our context, in the world's context, that anything that stresses me will I cut off because I prioritize my mental health or my set of well-being. And I'm not saying that stay in abusive relationships, because
please do not.
God does not love that for you. Yes, but there are things of friendships don't just happen. You cultivate them, so they obviously have to be ups and downs that you have to cultivate. Likewise to marriage, likewise to any other, if it's a business relationship you have with someone, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a smooth ride. There are things that you have to work through. There are things where you have to lay yourself down for another person.
Yeah. And this is again, this is not to say do not don't refuse to prioritize your mental state, but I don't think the answer to prioritizing your mental state is put me first. I believe that prioritizing your mental state is put God first. Why? Because we have been given the mind of Christ, and the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove. So you need to constantly renew your mind.
It's an everyday thing. Actually, an every time thing. Every time thing. You might wake up feeling, I am a chosen generation, a holy priesthood, a peculiar people. Then you get out and maybe your lecturer says something, or your math teacher says something, or your best friend says a comment, and then you have to renew your mind again because of everything that constantly keeps happening.
Now, one of the things I've realized is when we say self-love, it can kind of come across as like negative to say that it is bad.
Okay, in their perspective, we are redefining it. So we are redefining the terminology. Yes.
So I wanted to ask, the other thing is self-worth. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Self-worth. So what would you say is the difference between self-worth and self-love?
I actually think now that we have redefined, now you guys watching know what self-love is to us. We are no longer considering your concept. Now that you have redefined the meaning of self-love, I actually feel like I know that self-worth comes from self-love, because if it's self and God, if you prioritizing God and you're drawing close to God, trying to as he as he shows you who he created you to be, as he's giving you things that people do not know of, as he's doing all these things, and I believe you are adding on to yourself. So it comes from a place of being with God, or it comes from self-love. That we get self-worth in our definition, or let me just put it clearly, it comes from you being close to God, but you get the self-worth. Let me give you an example. I've heard of people very successful, probably a lawyer, an accountant, medical practitioner, and they are married, they have children, and everything is going on well. They have money, they have the cars, they have the houses, and then the wife says, babe, I'm sorry, I cannot continue with this. I need to go on a journey of self-discovery. Ouch. After everything, now you want to discover yourself, not because you don't know yourself, but because you have drawn away from your creator, because that's the only way you can truly know who you are. Yes. So I believe it's not about what you have in tangible or the material, but it's who it comes from, because self-worth does not come from you having riches or being well connected or being well traveled or being fluent. It comes with you knowing who you truly are from the master, because a person who knows their true identity will actually value it more, or is worth more than a person who is still looking for their purpose and identity out there in the world. So I believe that self-worth comes from a relationship with self and love, or God. Stroke God. Love God. Yeah. I feel like we're doing a lot of equations in here. But yeah, I think that's how I feel.
That's how you define it.
Yeah.
The way I would see self-worth, truly, from, at least as a Christian, we gain our self-worth from, and I think this is really actually just as a human being.
True.
Self-worth is, even though the name says self-worth, it is kind of determined by external factors.
Not from self.
Not from self.
Yeah.
And the blessing and the privilege that we have as believers is that our self-worth comes from God.
Yeah.
And so we know that regardless of how I feel, what the situation looks like, what people may say about me,
I am more than a conqueror.
God has said this about
I can do all things.
And because as humans we try to look for self-worth outside of ourselves, when we find it in Jesus, in God, we are firmer. We are not shaken by
actually the emptiness is filled, because I believe everything out there cannot fill the gap or the void that you feel on the inside of you until you truly know the person who created you, until you truly meet the person of Jesus, that this void is actually covered or filled. Then you know that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that you are all these things that the Bible says that you are.
And I do believe that God designed us as people specifically. Not even, I don't know if it's designed us, but I think just by necessity of him being who he is and being our creator, we are designed with the need for him. He's the only one who has no need for anyone or anything else. But because he created us, we have a need for him. Just like how your parents, because they're the ones who brought you into this world, as a child, you are so heavily dependent on them. And for us, we never outgrow that stage with God. Like you will never reach the same level as God and say, now I think I can take care of myself and you. No.
Actually, I think, I'm sorry. there's a quote, I read in regards to this. There's a person who wrote and said, earthly maturity is growing up into an independent person. But heavenly maturity is actually realizing that you fully depend on who God is.
That was an interesting quote, and I believe as Christians, really, I think we've gone through this. True self-love, if you would like to call it that, is getting to know God, because God is the only one who can fill the void that he placed within each of us. So the more you get to know him, the better you'll get to know yourself, because if you want to know how a certain device works, the best person to go to find out how it works is the person who made it.
The inventor. Truly. And that leads me to a point I really wanted to explain, is that when we say we are in this true regime of self-love, which is knowing ourselves through our master or our creator, the thing, and I feel like this draws us back to him, because obviously to know yourself, you need to be in close proximity with the creator, and this is what he wants for us. He set for us boundaries. I usually say this because people think the only boundaries that we have are the 10 commandments. No, we have principles that apply to each and every one of us. Even the different men of God, there are certain instructions that they have from God. For example, do not do such and such a thing, particular to them. And I believe everyone has a certain set of instructions like that. But there are certain boundaries that the Lord places around our lives to protect us, to protect our innocence, because He knows His love is constant towards us. But the moment that we know certain, we get a certain perception or a certain idea of ourselves, or see ourselves from a different lens that is not His, then it's going to be hard for us to draw to Him. And that takes me to Genesis chapter 2, verse, let me start from verse 23 to 25. This is when God makes Eve and presents her to Adam. And then Adam says, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man, but Adam was full of lines. He had dreams. He said, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Then verse 25 says, they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed. And then if you look up the Hebrew term for naked in this very verse, it means arumim, which means naked, unashamed, and vulnerable to each other. And they had no sexual ideology in their head. Yeah, if you look it up. So they were naked, unashamed, vulnerable. Then if you go to and that's the state we want to be in, yes. But if you look at if you look in chapter 3, that's when God now I think God had already given what Adam and Eve rules and regulations to follow in the Garden of Eden. For example, do not eat the fruit of a tree in the middle of the garden. And we therefore see Eve being tempted by a serpent in chapter 3, her picking of the fruit, her sharing with the husband. And we are going to see what happens in chapter 3, verse 7. The Bible says, then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. Now, the naked here means erumim. It's just the E and the A that change, but this one means naked, ashamed, and now we have a sexual context of everything. So you see that the boundary that God had provided for them, I've had people asking, sincerely, it was just one tree out of all trees. Why was God so pissed and mad about this? But it's a representative of boundaries that look so simple, so fragile, that God has placed around our lives that are protecting our consciousness. He loves us that much that He doesn't want us to see what is outside here, because after we shall not love ourselves as much. You look at yourself and you're disgusted, or you are irritated by what has happened, and now you're drawing away from the presence of God where you can truly love yourself. Yes. And we see here they are naked, they are ashamed, they have now something introduced, the sexual context in their minds. And this is something that does not happen within the boundaries of God. In other words, God has placed that boundary. He has given you that principle. For we have seen men of God, for example, people who had things like their hair, like their consecration requirements. Different people had different consecration requirements, and God has placed this around you so that you will remain within the boundaries of His love, that you keep experiencing His love for yourself. Yeah. So and it takes us back to our generation. There are times we like risking, and I've heard people saying a risky life is very exciting. I think because of the dopamine hit, I really don't understand. But it's constantly taking you away from the love of God, and in turn you cannot truly love yourself because you do not know who God created you to be, or you do not know the capacity that God has placed on the inside of your life. So constantly, because of that, because you're far from the Creator who can tell you your value, your function, your self-worth, you are now going to start comparing with other people. who are working, maybe even they're not working their lives right, but now you feel like they have a better life, or now you start seeing people who are close to God and know they know their self-worth, they know their purpose, they know their calling, and now you start feeling jealous, you start comparing, and all of that is not good to self. Yes, in other words, you're crushing yourself, you are degrading yourself, and then in the long run you're going to find that you're drawing away from the presence of God and drawing away from the love for self and self-realization, self-worth. So it was just a quick reminder that it's not just about spa days, it's not about taking yourself for a movie, but it's deeper than this. If you look into the Bible, it's deeper than the word self-love. Yes, so I don't know if Jonathan has something to add, but that's what I felt led to sharing. Yeah.
This actually just came to me as you were speaking. I believe the humanistic way, the worldly way of looking at self-love, the first time we see it is in the Garden of Eden, where the devil tells them, once you eat of this tree, you will become like God.
They are fond of self.
And so they said, oh, really? So I can, myself, I can now become like God. I can replace the object of my affection, which should be God, with myself. And the problem with that is God made us in a way where it is God who can hold up.
We are actually created to worship. So if we are that's our sole responsibility as human beings. So if you take yourself and remove yourself from a place of worship, obviously there's going to be a void. If you take a plant and remove it from soil, it's obviously going to die. It might take a few days for the leaves to turn brown or dry up completely, but there's a death happening.
Yeah. So as I was trying to explain, the foundation that God has placed is He is the only one strong enough to hold it. And so when you put yourself there, you're putting something that is weak, something that will break. And so, like we said, when we are saying self-love, us as Christians, here today, we mean
in our conference today,
we mean drawing yourself closer to God, because that is the only way you will find out your true value and your true worth. Yeah. I think this was a nice conversation.
It truly is, and I look forward to I think there shall be a part 2. Yeah, maybe. But also this is something to think about, and as Christians, I know there are very many things that happen. The Bible says, do not conform yourself to the standards of this world. And sometimes we are not very careful the terms or the terminologies that we use. Because it was very funny how Jonathan received such a video that week, and I thought about searching about self-love music that week, and you notice probably there was something to be discussed or something that God was trying to communicate to us. And when I think about it right now, and I take myself back to that Saturday evening when I was feeling down or low, what I needed was not the music. What I needed was actually reconnecting with my Creator and finding out where the problem with. I think there's a story of wooden characters. I don't know if it's called Pinocchio, right?
Pinocchio.
I think it's Pinocchio, where they used to give circles and were they circles and stars or crosses, and they used to give stickers to the ones who do well, and a certain type of stickers.
That one was on TBN.
I don't remember the title, but if you do, please drop it in the comments. We shall maybe watch it and give you feedback. But you notice this little guy was he kept on piling the spots, yes, and found this little girl one day who didn't have either a sticker, a star or a spot, yes, and asked the girl, how come you don't have anything? Because if you look at the stars and the spots, that's how the world defines us. Yes, so you're good, you're excellent, so you deserve this. Or you're stupid, you're daft, you deserve this, at least according to the standards of the world. But if you see according to the story, that the Lord does not categorize us like failures and people who are very, very successful. We are all ordained by Christ. We, as we saw in the previous episodes, we have been predestinated. There is a destiny that each and everyone has on the inside of us. There is purpose locked on the inside of you. So you do not deserve to be labeled a certain way by the world. So you should go back to the master so that you know your true value, so that you are dealt with, so that you consult from him of what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be, and what you are made for.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this episode.
Thank you too. He brings out the most outrageous topics, things that we need to talk about. Yes,
I bring chill things. I don't know what she's talking about.
Shout out to Jonathan Lubwama.
Thank you.
Oh, and behind the camera we had the most critical man I've ever seen. Very he has very many questions, and I think next time he will have his own microphone. Hopefully. Or if not, so we can exchange places. I'll be on the camera and he'll be here seated.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
People are asking where Jed went.
He's behind the camera.
He
behind the
questions.
scenes. Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Share in case you feel like this is something
Share.
that.
Yeah, and we are not only. Oh no, Jonathan. No, Jonathan is not only. The room is not only on YouTube. You can find us. Let me own this thing. You can find us on Instagram, The Room, on TikTok, The Room. Please follow. You can now repost on Instagram. That is really, really a cool thing. Repost on Instagram, on TikTok. Like, comment. We would really like to hear the next topic you'd like to discuss about.
Please do that. Actually,
which questions do you have? Would like to hear into that, so to bring more people. Last time we had Pastor Ed Lugwama. It was such a blessing to have him. So you never know. We also have more men and women, powerful women and men of God in our family. So it would be a blessing because we constantly hear from them. It would be nice.
A blessing for you guys as well.
For you guys to hear from them. So
you see, my cousin is an influencer. So for her, these things of like, share, subscribe.
By the way, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Chichiwa Rebecca. Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, Instagram, Jonathan Nugwama. This one is classified. For Jed, I am sorry, you can reach him through us. We shall sieve and filter. Yeah, if you want to meet him at church.
At church, you need to first come.
We also can't classify. Yeah, just come to church. You'll find him there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.